took me plenty of time to come out to myself. I did not, the way you did or the way my husband did, figure out at such an early age that I probably should have. I mean, there's certainly plenty of indications by the time I was 15 or so that I could point back and be like, yeah, this kid's gay. It was really the deployment that put me over the top. I realized that you only get to be one person. You don't know how long you have on this earth. And by the time I came back, I realized, like, I gotta do something.
Really interesting conversation with Rachel in this very studio tonight. Pete Buttigieg officially joined the 2020 race on Sunday in his hometown of South Bend, where he's been mayor for the last 7 years. He has generated rather sudden national attention, and it's reflected in the polls. The latest national polling out by Emerson College shows Buttigieg polling in third, behind two men pretty much everyone has already heard of, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, still hanging on to the top spots, though Sanders has now overtaken the former vice president. And a reminder, Biden is not in the race. There's that. Here with us tonight is John Heilman, our MSNBC National Affairs analyst. He's also co-author of Game Change and co-host of The Circus on Showtime. Before I ask you to handicap the chances of Pete Buttigieg, I want to show you a moment that happened here in New York tonight. He is approached on this dark and sad and awful night for all the people in France by a French reporter. Here we go.
De France, je voudrais dire que nous partageons la douleur aujourd'hui, que la cathédrale de Notre-Dame, c'était comme un cadeau à l'espèce humaine. Nous partageons la douleur, mais aussi nous vous remercions de ce cadeau à la civilisation.
Well, I'll tell you, Ryan.
I know he's not running for president of France.
Also, I don't speak.
That's impressive.
I speak no French, so I have no idea whether on the merits or the substance.
Two of the longest years of my life were high school French.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was substantively a good answer or politically a good answer. Impressive. The man speaks, I believe, multiple languages fluently, and if you believe the theory of opposites. That we trade, you go from Bill Clinton to George W. Bush and George W. Bush to Barack Obama to Donald Trump. If you
believe Carter to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, you believe the theory of opposites. The guy who's the opposite of Donald Trump is a guy who's fluent in multiple languages and can take on a French reporter like that.
That's pretty much the opposite.
Donald Trump cannot, let's put it that way. Barely can do English.
What do you make of his chances? I know it's early yet, and it's crowded, and
we don't even know who the field is, right? We're still waiting on big-time people like Terry McAuliffe, Michael Bennet, the governor of Montana. We're waiting on Joe Biden still. So we don't even know who the field is. He has had, the only so far in the race, Mayor Pete, that is, he's had the only genuine, authentic, organic, unexpected moment so far. Things are going to get harder for him now. He's going to start now. Expectations are he's a first-tier candidate. You put up those polling numbers. Let's point out that Congressman O'Rourke and Senator Harris and Senator Warren are all within the margin of error. They're all basically at the same place in that second tier of polling. But in terms of consciousness, national consciousness, the impression he's making, he's now a first-tier candidate. He's got the hot hand, which means that he's going to start getting opposition research against him. He's going to start getting hard questions from reporters, and he's got debates to perform in against a bunch of people who've done a lot more national combat than he has. Does that mean he can't be the nominee? Of course it doesn't. Right now he looked pretty good. He's on a roll, but it's early. There's a lot of yardage between now and the Iowa caucuses.
Bernie Sanders today released his tax returns, and there were two political headlines today while we were concentrating on a fire in Paris. Bill Weld got into the race against Donald Trump as a Republican. As someone snarkily pointed out, he hasn't won an election since the late 90s. And Bernie released his tax returns, and look who's a member of the 1%.
Yeah, I mean, look, the two, one, I think, of not great consequence of these two stories. Governor Weld, a man I like greatly, was a kind of Republican who at a time, the race you're talking about was when he won the Massachusetts governorship in a race that became the governor of Massachusetts. He ran for the Senate against John Kerry in the 1990s also. He was a kind of Republican who could win in Massachusetts. That kind of Republican has no place in today's Republican Party. Or Mitt Romney. It doesn't have a place. The Republican Party is not the Republican Party of Massachusetts in the mid-1990s. He's an estimable guy, and you never, as a sitting president, want to have a primary opponent. It just forces you to run in races you don't want to run, to spend money you don't want to spend, to deal with this gnat that's kind of flying around and distracting you. And we all know Donald Trump does not like mosquitoes or gnats. Bernie Sanders, well, look, no one's going to hold against him. As he points out, he wrote a couple books. They were very successful. He made some money. Is it awkward for him, having spent 2016 railing against millionaires and billionaires and now turning out to be a millionaire? It's awkward, but there's an easy answer out of it, which is to say, I think I should have my taxes raised. I think, I am a member now of the millionaire class, and I should have my power constrained. And I think that is what he's going to say. And I don't think there's anybody who right now is a giant fan of Bernie Sanders, and there's a substantial number of them in the Democratic Party, is going to be turned off of him by the fact that he had he had some success on the book circuit.
We talk about the strength of Trump's base and their what's the word I'm looking to? Stick-to-itiveness.
Yes, durability. I mean, look, he is the only guy right now, Bernie Sanders, sitting here today who we know, absent a comet hitting him, metaphorically, I hope, absent that, who's going to have the money to compete in 50 states. Who can go all the way to June, is going to have the donor base to carry him forward, and has, in a party that's moving to the left, has a piece of real estate that he has a really firm grip on right now. Maybe someone can take some of it away from him. Some people are going to try. But right now, the clearest, most cleanly demarcated chunk of territory, he owns it, and he's got a money machine that guarantees him a run all the way till June. That's a guy who's formidable and is going to be formidable for a long time to come.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.